on our staff and their technical expertise and all the training they've had to become technically proficient in their areas of expertise. So when our street and fleet manager seems to feel that these loads will not negatively impact the streets, for me, as a non-engineer, as a layman, I have to assume he knows what he's talking about. And when Les McDonald, our Public Works Director, in general says the same thing, it does create in my mind some confidence that they know what they're talking about. Our fire chief and our police chief have seem to feel as though they can solve, if there are any problems created by these megaloads, they seem to think that they can solve them, and they're hired to do their job, and personally I think they can. So I guess I appreciate getting your draft resolution, Mayor Cheney. I read it. I tried to plug my ears and read it before you reconvene the meeting so I could concentrate on it. There are 8 paragraphs that I will not support. There are 4 of the 12 that I would support, and so I'm not. I don't feel very comfortable with the way it's written. And so, since I seconded Walter's motion, I'm going to support Walter's motion.
Okay, without amending it with the addition of those 4 paragraphs you liked?
Well, that's up to the maker of the motion.
No, you can put forward an amendment.
I'm going to let it stay the way it is for right now.
And just as a follow-up to your statement
Yes,
about streets and public works, they did express some concern about stormwater mains underneath the street, because those are more shallow than the water and sewer lines, and express some worries about that. They intend to drop a camera through the mains to take a look, to document their existing state, so that they can perhaps document any changes that may occur over time.
We have a great staff, and it just shows the due diligence that they're willing and are thinking about these things before. So I like that. If they're going to do that, I support that 100%.
Okay.
It certainly gives us a place to start, when we'll know where we are.
Okay. Wayne?
Well, you're all surprised that I waited till last, I think, because I usually end up going first. But I wanted everybody to have their say. Madam Mayor, I think you did an excellent job on your resolution. It's well thought out. As you know, you and I don't agree on it, but I compliment you on what you did. One of the things that I had to employ in 32 years of running a business was to understand that you can study a subject long enough that finally you end up with information overload and consequently a lockup and unable to make a decision. We have been discussing this and talking to people and having hearings now for a long time. And there comes a time to make a decision. One of the things that you learn in business is that even though you've made a decision, it's always a fluid decision, and things can be changed if the circumstances change. Our concern is within the city limits of Moscow and what goes on through the corridor. If I had my druthers and I could make one ruling, I would say that whatever megaload or whatever large load enters the city limits, they have to pay us a $25,000 trip permit. But that's not going to happen. But my biggest concern, and yes, I did miss the Wednesday night public hearing because of a prior commitment, but I did attend a technical hearing on Thursday morning. I listened to our police chief, I listened to the fire department, I listened to the questions from Gritton Hospital on emergency access, and I thought that they were all well answered. I feel like all of our emergency staff feel comfortable with how things will be handled. There's a lot of unknowns. If you run away from something because you can't answer the unknowns, then you don't know what you've ended up with. Walter, I think that it might be considering changing your motion a little bit. Instead of saying be it resolved, how about it shall be the current position? Perhaps Sue would be more comfortable with that. I think that takes it away from being a resolution. And bearing in mind, we're never going to know what happens, what it's going to be like, until one comes through or they start bringing them through, if in fact they ever do. And as I said, decisions are fluid. They can be changed. And if it becomes a problem, we can change our position. But right now, I don't see any hard facts that tell us that we have to say no. So I'm going to support Walter's recommendation and his motion.
Madam Mayor, you did mention that because all the council wasn't at the Wednesday night meeting, that this should be put off until June 6th. I thought about the fact that Tom Lamar was not at either meeting, but he will not even be here on June 6th.
Neither will I.
Okay, so to vote on it. So what I'm saying is that when you did see the paperwork, the presentation that that Gary gave you, that showed what was essentially presented by Mr. Johnson Wednesday night, and you were at the technical meeting, so I think we could make a decision, and you are qualified to make a decision on this tonight, but I still don't like either one of these resolutions, so I will probably abstain.
You like the way I reworded it?
No. I was trying to see that should the permits be given with conditions that address the citizenry, and should the then because I don't think we can say they do not believe that the movement through will have any inordinate impact. But should they meet all the permits, the requirements for permits, and address all of the issues that the citizens brought up, then I would not be opposed to the megaloads coming through. But I won't say that I won't believe that they won't have any inordinate impact. Because the permits haven't been granted yet, they haven't met the criteria yet. The bridges haven't been designed yet. I mean, the structure of the bridges haven't been determined yet, so I think it's premature. So I'm going to abstain.
Yeah, and my point in delaying this, Sue, had as much to do with the fact that the minutes from the meeting on the 11th have not been assembled yet. Wayne hasn't seen the testimony, although he heard that of those 29 who testified and 33, was it, who put index cards forward, only one person spoke in support of this, and all the rest were opposed. So, or excuse me, and I must clarify, some of those were general kinds of questions saying, well, what about this and this and this?
And the structural engineer, Dr. Sack, he had a lot of questions that needed to be answered. And if when all that's done and the permit's given, then I don't have any problem with it, with the megaload going through. But I'm not taking a position on a resolution now.
Okay, other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we have Walter's motion and Tim's second. We'll start the Walter.
Ma'am,
Please.
Wayne, regarding your proposal to change, to get the resolved part out of there, I would accept changing the beginning of this motion to read, as of this date, it is the position of the Moscow City Council that it has heard, et cetera, et cetera.
Tim? as of this date, is the position of the city council.
The seconder will accept the rewording of the maker's motion.
Stephanie, is that
Does that satisfy you, Wayne?
Yeah, that's fine.
okay?
It'd take a little adjustment grammatically, Stephanie, to fit it in, but
Okay, with that modification, then we have Walter's motion as modified. We have Tim's second. We'll start the roll call vote with you, Walter.
thank you, ma'am. Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
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 The motion carries. Thank you. And that's how politics works, representative government.